Hey, did I read that right? You don't even know what I read, but over and over this past week, it's been difficult to figure out if I actually read that right, and I had to read it over, and yes, I did. Let's talk about it. So we just passed the 20th anniversary of September 11th. Memorials were held across the country, remembering those that were touched by this tragedy. There are some tremendous documentaries on YouTube. You should check them out. They're just fascinating and heartwarming. And I can't compete with any of those, but what I can think about is, what's changed since that time for our industry. And enter the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, security is the first thing, conferences, everything. So, hey, that's probably the biggest thing. But the second biggest thing is you can't run up to the airplane and jump on with 30 seconds to go. That isn't happening anymore. Bag match. You can't fly on a plane that doesn't have your bags unless there's a lot of exceptions going on. And if you get off the plane, your bags are coming too. And that was a pretty big deal to make happen. There's TSA, they're all government screeners. There's a exception to that too with a screening partnership program in select airports around the country. But bags and people have been checked for a long time, but those have been privatized. They were privatized, run by the airlines, and now it's all government. TSA was first under the Coast Guard until DHS was established, now under TSA. Hey, and the National Guard protected us for a while at the gates of the entries with guns. Only passengers through the checkpoint. No taking your mother to the to the ramp or to the gate, unless you get a lot of exceptions. Air marshals, we had there was an air marshal program before, but then it expanded exponentially, and so there's pretty much an air marshal on every single flight. Metal detectors versus now full body scanners. That's kind of a big deal because it certainly slowed everything down and created a little anxiety about what exactly are you looking at. No knives or guns through the checkpoint. Those metal detectors are really set pretty high, so a lot of things could pass through there. Not anymore. You're hardly going to get a nickel through there. Remember having to take your shoes off? Yeah, you still kind of have to do that unless you're in the pre-check program and through Clear or something else. Those people should sign up for that kind of stuff. No liquids through the checkpoints now because of another incident, unless it looks like a prescription or baby formula or something. That isn't happening. The dreaded no-fly list. There's always been a no-fly list, but now there's people on the no-fly list for not wearing a mask. So that's a pretty big list now. A Clear program where you pay, I think it's like $100, and you use your eye scan and you go zipping through the line. And probably not the most important thing, but crappy utensils to eat the crappy airplane food. How's that? But if you really want better utensils, and I really don't care that much, but business aircraft, they have better utensils because they can have whatever utensils they want. And that traffic jumped 10% over the same month in 2019 in North America. Europe flight activity jumped 27% from 2019. Business aviation is super strong, and coming up is the MBAA conference in Las Vegas, so that is always quite the show. But August represents the second busiest month on record with just over 300,000 business jet flights. Pretty amazing. And this segment is not slowing down at all. Fractional activities, which is sort of timeshares for airplanes, is up over 20% from 2019. Every segment is up. And even Embraer is marking its 1,500th business jet delivery last week. Just looking at numbers back of the napkin, this doesn't kind of put a dent in the overall passenger traffic count, but the numbers will certainly impact air traffic control operations count. And with eVTOLs and SVTOLs working towards certification in the next couple of years, there's the potential for the skies to darken with these other types of aircraft. No, not really. But as operations will probably feel like that. It'll feel like there's just too much happening. ATM is really operating almost near capacity all the time, and so when you throw these things on there in giant growth spurts, it's going to feel like the ATM system is constrained. Terminal airspace will be where the pressure point is. That's where we're going to feel it first, runways first, and it's really something that we really need to pay attention to. How much capacity is left? Hey, I can see people with, through the whole COVID thing and being quarantined, that they get really bored. But those people should not have lasers. Laser strikes increased in 2020 despite the decrease in flights due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Pilots reported almost 7,000 laser strikes last year, which is up from just over 6,000 flights in 2019. This is the highest rate since 2016. I don't remember being bored in 2016, but I guess that was possible. These incidents have caused nearly 200 injuries of flight crews in the past 10 years, and certainly the potential is even greater when for something really bad to happen when 25% of these laser strikes occur under 3,000 feet. So the FAA has a visualization tool and things like that they can sort of target the trends and what states and regional areas have the most issues. But California is the biggest perpetrator with nearly double the incidence of the second highest state, which is Texas. But it seems like this data is targeted where it happens. It's always post-event, but it'd be really interesting if maybe airplanes in those regions maybe should be outfitted with a shot spotter technology, which is you can tell where a gun's fired from because it quickly to them, and you can find out exactly where that laser angle would be, and that technology would hope not only the post-event but more rapid reaction time and enforcement issues. And just an idea. So I was reading some stuff about, September 11th and the pandemic and things like that, and then I couldn't believe what I read, so I had to read it over and over and over. COVID sniffing dogs. Is that fake news? No, it is not. Miami International announced that it will begin the first U.S. airport to test COVID-19 detector dogs. Now that's cool. So on a 30-day pilot program, the airport will feature the canines Cobra and one beta. I did not make that up. I promise. Which have been trained with the protocols created by Global Forensics and Justice Center at Florida International University. The dogs have achieved incredible results with a 94% accuracy. Isn't that better than the test? Could it be close to the test? Just to have a really good trained dog at home. That'd be awesome. Another thing I had to read over and over was more legroom by an airline. What? Oh, okay. Air Canada has a low-cost carrier option called Rouge, red for those don't speak French. They stopped flying in February due to limitations of that market, but they're coming back. But they haven't wasted any time in the meantime. They actually, since passenger counts are down, increased first, business, and that second section of economy for like 3 inches of legroom. I mean, and that's huge. This increased legroom in those classes, if you're way in the back, in the very back, that hasn't changed at all. But that's an advantage of a little bit less demand. We get a little bit less jammed into the cattle car. I know it's shocking. But space doesn't have a lot of oxygen. But you do need a lot of oxygen in order to propel a rocket into space. And last week, NASA delayed the launch of an Earth surveillance satellite because of COVID-induced oxygen shortage. Other launches are also at risk of being pushed back because of that. At a space conference, SpaceX President and COO Gwynne Shotwell said, "We're certainly going to make sure hospitals are going to have the oxygen they need, but if anyone has some liquid oxygen that's lying around your basement, just send them an email. I think you've got a buyer." To add to the shortage, a shortage of truck drivers with the specialized skills to transport oxygen is also causing a problem. Maybe this is where driverless trucks come in, and that way we could get past that. Little shout out to Paul Rinaldi. New leadership has taken over at NATCA. So what does the former NATCA president do? Many of them have gone back to the boards. Many of them have gone into private industry. But Paul Rinaldi has started Rinaldi Consultants LLC, full-time gig, providing expertise in aviation. Wish him all the best. Smash that like button. Become a subscriber. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We'll talk to you next time. Oxygen are also